All right. We are talking cell disease, cell energy. All disease is cell disease. We say that all the time. That's a mantra on the bright side. All disease is cell disease. Specifically, the cell membrane, the coating on top of the cell, which controls all the behaviors inside a cell via interpretation of the environment. The cell is sitting in an environment, and it's reading the environment. That environment is getting read via the processing system, the information processor called the cell membrane. Thus, the cell membrane is, in essence, the brain of a cell. It's liquid crystal. It is just the same kind of material that's in your computer chip at home, in your PC at home. It's a little tiny computer chip. It processes information and channels that information to the inside of a cell. And then the inside of a cell does whatever that cell does. When a cell breaks down, it breaks down for only one reason. All disease is cell disease. All cell disease is cell membrane disease. When a cell is diseased, there's only one reason why it is diseased, and that's a lack of energy. It's all about energy, you guys. All about energy. From a macro perspective, energy for us, and from a microscopic perspective, energy for a cell. This lack of energy from a physical perspective, this lack of energy at the cell level follows starvation, lack of nutrition, thus the importance of nutrients and nutritional supplementation. It follows suffocation, thus the importance of getting oxygen into your body. This is why oxygenation or lack thereof is such a crisis to the body. And then toxification, the accumulation of poisons. Lack of energy follows starvation, suffocation, toxification. Once in a while, no big deal. Cells have a lot of redundancy. You got 100 trillion cells. Cells are constantly being born and constantly dying. If it just happens a little bit, that's not a big deal. But lack of energy chronically, lack of cell energy, starvation, suffocation, toxification chronically for years, for decades, big problem. Starvation, suffocation, toxification, ultimately inflammation, represent a burden on the body, represent a stress on the body, represent a burden and a stress on cells. And they cost us nutrients, which of course leads to more starvation, suffocation, toxification. And the ultimate reason for this whole mess comes from something that is getting into the pristine, holy, sacred, perfect biological system over and over and over again. And guess where that comes from? Well, to a certain extent, you probably have an environmental toxicity, just our air is poisoned. But for the most part, this chronic burden on the body comes in through food and digestive impairment. In other words, impaired digestion, wrong foods. These all have a negative effect on energy, specifically on cell energy, and from that point, all disease follows. And this should just be common sense. What's worse than the burden of these foods, than the burden these foods represent, the lack of nutrition these foods represent, the empty nature of these foods, is the fact that these foods put the body into a defensive posture. Food in general puts the body in a defensive posture. There's a guy on TV, forgot his name, he specializes in eating a lot of food. He calls the show Man versus Food. You've probably seen this show, Man versus Food. Now, leaving aside the craziness of having a battle with your food, where did that come from? This idea of where we fight our food, man versus food. This guy, leaving that aside, this guy consumes these ridiculous amounts of hamburgers and milkshakes and steaks. And one of the things that happens to him when he gets into his eating frenzy, when he's eating really hard and really fast, he's going to start to sweat. He starts to sweat, he gets dizzy, and if you look at him closely, he can't really talk. His eyes kind of roll back in his head. He can't concentrate. This is all the manifestation of an activated stress system, an activated survival system. Now, most of us aren't going to be eating these ridiculous amounts of food. Most of us aren't competitive eaters. So most of us aren't going to be exhibiting these dramatic signs of stress like sweat dripping down our face when we're eating our food. But nonetheless, the stress response is still there, no matter what we're eating. Even small amounts of the right foods can activate this stress response. Foods represent the most important and chronic stressor on the body, even in the best of conditions. But certainly the burden of processed foods, nutrient-depleted foods, empty foods, junk foods, certainly this burden represents a major, significant factor in the formation of disease. This stress and the stressor that food represents ultimately is going to compromise how we process energy, how the body processes energy, and that means reduced energy to the cells that make up the tissues and the glands and organs of the body. And in addition to activating the stress response, the defensive response, the inflammatory and immune response, it's all the same thing. Defensive response, immune response, inflammatory response. stress response. These kinds of foods are ultimately going to deprive the cell of the energy it needs to do what it needs to do, not just via the stress response, but also because of the empty nature of these foods. Under these burdensome and energy deprivation conditions, cells just can't do what they need to do. Cells won't grow and divide correctly. It'll look like the problem is in the organ. It'll look like the problem is in the pancreas. It'll look like the problem is in the thyroid or whatever gland or whatever tissue, but ultimately it's the cell. But we don't notice it because we're focused at the macro level. We don't notice that the problem is at the cell level. Hypothyroidism is thyroid cell disease. Diabetes is pancreas cell disease. Multiple sclerosis is nerve cell disease. Crohn's disease, intestinal cell disease. Acne, skin cell disease. It's all the cell. All disease is cell disease, but there's a problem. We can talk about this till we're blue in the face, but there's a problem. Hang tight. I'll tell you what I mean when we come back from our break. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side on the Genesis Communication Network. We'll be back right after this. Okay, all disease is cell disease. Cool. Everybody, that makes sense. All disease is cell disease. The body's made up of cells, and if you're sick, you got a cell problem. The issue is, it just doesn't look that way. When we have an illness, we don't make the connection between the cell and the disease. I talked to a guy yesterday about eczema, and I get a lot of calls about eczema. Get a lot of letters and Facebooks about eczema. Eczema is a classic example of this disconnect between how we see the disease process, the illness process, whatever it is, and the cell. Eczema is caused by an inflammation and immune activation response that's localized to the skin cells. Eczema is a skin cell issue that's caused by an inflammatory process, which you can tell because the medicine that they'll give you if you go to the dermatologist is an anti-inflammatory. So eczema is clearly an anti-inflammatory issue. That means it's an immune issue. Inflammation means immunity. Now you look at your eczema patch. You know, you guys have probably all seen eczema. You don't see any inflammation. You're like, well, what? There's no inflammation there. Yes, there is. It's microscopic, which means you can't see it, but it's there by definition. If you have an immune response or you have some kind of some kind of disease defect, you got a cell issue. And the only reason you have a cell issue is because of local inflammation, which follows starvation, suffocation, and toxification. Skin cells are not doing what they need to do. Skin cells are growing rapidly. They're dividing rapidly, and they need all kinds of all kinds of nutrients in order to grow and divide like they should. Skin cells are also making things. They need nutrients. They need oxygen. They need to have a clean environment in order to make what they need to make, in order to divide correctly, in order to grow correctly. When you got eczema, your skin cells aren't growing correctly. Period. End of story. That's all it is, guys. If you have eczema, skin cells aren't growing correctly. That's it. If they're not growing correctly, there's only one reason. They're not getting what they need to get to grow correctly. Just common sense. What do they need? They need the mighty 90 essential nutrients. They need oxygen, and they need to have their toxins cleared away. Without their toxins cleared away, without oxygen, without the mighty 90 nutrients, they can't divide correctly, they can't grow correctly. It'll look like eczema, and you're not going to notice, you're not going to see the reason. You just have to understand how the body works, how the cells work. The same's true about Alzheimer's disease and nerve cells not doing their work, or MS and nerve cells not doing their work, or osteoporosis and bone cells not doing their work, and diabetes and pancreas cells not doing their work. All disease is cell disease, cells not doing their jobs, not behaving properly because they're not getting energy. To reverse degenerative disease, to reverse your eczema, to reverse your osteoporosis, all of this is reversible, you guys, all of it. To reverse it, all we got to do is figure out why cells are not getting the energy they need, and you're always going to find starvation, lack of nutrients, lack of the mighty 90, suffocation, that's lack of oxygen, and toxicity as an accumulation of poison and waste. All disease is cell disease, all disease is cell energy disease, and all disease is based on cells not doing their jobs. And what is a cell's job? A cell's job is to make things. And in order for it to make things, the internal structure of that cell has to be organized and maintained just so. And in order for the internal structure to remain intact, to remain just so, a cell must have energy. When we say all disease is cell disease, we're talking that all disease is a lack of energy in this tiny, infinitesimally small little entity, 1/100th the size of a head of a pin. This is incredibly important to understand, because when we get this idea that all disease is some kind of energy defect at the cell level, we will see clearly why the medical model is utterly and completely useless for reversing degenerative disease. I'm not talking about repair. I'm not talking about repairing damage, a broken leg, or, if you need some kind of surgical procedure. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about degenerative disease. At that level, when we talk about degenerative disease, the medical model gets an F, a failure. It's utterly and completely useless. And we can see why the doctor, once we understand this, we can see why our doctors, for all their self-congratulating, they love themselves, doctoring, the medical model just is in love with itself. But we can see, once we understand the nature of a cell, why the medical model can't help us. Because it's an energy problem, not a drug problem, not a surgical problem, not a medical problem. It's an energy problem. And there's no surgical procedure or drug or device that can give a cell energy. Nothing. Nada. Period. Not a single one. Nothing your doctor can do for you. At the level of degeneration, there's nothing that your doctor can do to replace the energy or to assist a cell in getting energy. But as we've said so many times in this program, we don't need a doctor. We could do it ourselves through the mighty 90 essential nutrients, through eating correctly, through breathing correctly. And that means inhaling and exhaling, because on the inhale you get oxygen, and on the exhale you get detoxification. Acids and waste come off on the exhalation. Eliminating the stream of toxicity that enters into the body through foods, through water, through air. Getting your nutrients, your mighty 90 nutrients, through nutritional supplementation, through the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, through the longevity products, as well as through foods, most especially through foods. That's all we need to do. Now, we've been talking about this waste material called Lipofuscin, Lipofuscin. Lipofuscin is cell waste. Now, under ordinary circumstances, as part of their daily activities, cells are going to produce waste. That's no problem. We said that a cell is like a miniature city. It's a miniature municipality, and like a municipality, a cell has a waste disposal process. And this waste disposal system, this waste disposal process, is really a kind of chemical incineration. You got a little chemical incinerator in the body, in the cell. Every cell has its own, it actually has multiple little incinerators that burn waste. That's so amazing. A cell, you guys, is a 1/100th the size of a head of a pin, and it's got thousands of substructures in it, among which are these chemical incinerator devices. And when we get sick, many times we get sick because of defects in this chemical incineration process, and that's where Lipofuscin, the aging pigment, comes in. All right, I'm Pharmacist Ben. Hang tight. We're coming back with your phone calls. 855-660-4261 is our number. We'll be back with more good health information right after this. We are back on the bright side. I'm Pharmacist Ben. Tomorrow we'll talk about cell waste and what you can do to improve your body's ability, or a cell's ability to detoxify, to get rid of cell waste. All cells have these little furnaces, these little waste disposal incinerator systems, just like you have in an apartment building or in a municipality. Of course, it's not really fire. It's not really an incinerator. It's a chemical incinerator. It uses chemicals, and sometimes these chemicals can leak out, and sometimes when cells die inappropriately, these chemicals can cause damage. These incineration chemicals, we'll tell you about that tomorrow as we continue talking about cell disease. All disease is cell disease, and what you can do to improve your health conditions, whatever they may be. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side on the Genesis Communication Network. Our number is 855-660-4261. We do have a couple lines open for you. Time to hit our first phone call of the morning. Let's go to Michigan and welcome Kyleanne to The Bright Side. Did I say that right, Kyleanne? Or Kyleanne?
Thanks. Kyleanne, thank you.
Kyleanne, okay.
Did you, I appreciate your program so much, Ben. I've learned so much.
Thank you.
And I have two people, one that has hyperhydrosis,
Okay.
and the other one has ocular migraines.
Okay. Let's take the hyperhidrosis. You're talking about a lot of sweat, right? Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's a 16-year-old girl, and her hands and her feet sweat profusely, and she loves to play tennis, and now she can't.
Okay. She said 16-year-old girl?
Yes.
Okay. The sweat response is part of the stress response. It's one of the ways, sweat is one of the ways the body gets rid of toxicity. So when you're sweating a lot, you're either one or the other, a combination actually thereof. Stress, there's a lot of stress going on. Something is burdening the body in combination with the body attempting to detoxify itself. One of the ways the body gets rid of toxins is through the sweat. Ordinarily, kidney will process water-soluble toxins, but if the kidneys are overloaded, it's going to come out in the sweat. So whenever you have hyperhidrosis, more than likely you're looking at the body attempting to get rid of toxicity that is burdening the system somehow. The system is being overloaded. So what you want to look at is, you're going to get, I hope you guys aren't getting sick of me saying this, that what is getting into the body that's burdening the body? What kind of toxicity is getting into the body that's causing the stress response and causing the sweat response? And guess what? It's not going to come from magical pixie dust. It's not going to come from little elves that shoot arrows at you, even though that's what doctors of yore would tell you. It's going to come from something that is getting into the body over and over and over again chronically. Guess what that is? Food and the digestive system, maybe digestive breakdown. So what you want to do is you want to backtrack. Look for some food problems. Look for digestive problems. Look for problem foods, bowel movement issues, gas, bloating, the whole bit. You're almost guaranteed you're going to find that she has a history of digestive problems. Don't go by, if she says, no, I don't have any digestive issues, she may not know it. She may just assume that how she's operating from a digestive sense is perfect and it's healthy. But it's not, because she's got something that the body's trying to get rid of, and that means something's getting in. So she's got a food problem, she's got a digestive problem, more than likely. You got to focus there. Eliminate problem foods, step number one. Really, no matter what your health issue is, eliminate problem foods is always step number one. Step number two is start taking nutrients that strengthen and build and soothe and calm the digestive system, and there's lots of them. The Z-Radical is an amazing digestive support supplement, which we don't talk about anywhere near enough on this program. I've seen, the reason I talk about the Beyond Tangy Tangerine so much is because I've seen the results. I've seen the weight loss. I've seen the energy. I've seen the reversal of degenerative disease with my own eyes. Likewise with the Z-Radical. I've seen the results with the Z-Radical. Yes, you can go on Google and you could do searches for fucoid, and you're going to find a lot of great literature that supports its use. But personally, I'm telling you with my own eyes, I have seen what this stuff can do for your digestive system. Get on this, have your friend or your client get on the Z-Radical, as well as the Biolumin Nightly Essence. Very important for the digestive health, the microbiome, the gut environment, the bacteria that live in the intestine, key players in digestive health and wellness. That's the Biolumin Nightly Essence. You might also want to have her using the Ultimate Enzymes after meals and apple cider vinegar after meals. And maybe if she has fat malabsorption problems, she may want to throw in some lecithin and some extra bile, B-I-L-E, bile salts. The Beyond Tangy Tangerine, if she's an athlete, can be very helpful, because if she does have digestive problems, she may be not getting the best benefit from the nutritional benefit from her foods and from her supplements. The BTT, because it's liquid, will go right to work. Have her sip on it slowly, especially use it before and after, and even during an athletic performance. Way better than Gatorade. If you know anybody out there who's using Gatorade, get them on the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. It's a heck of a lot better, way more nutritionally valuable than any Gatorade or anything that you're going to get over the counter or in a grocery store. So have her on the BTT as well. Focus on problem foods, get her on the BTT as well, and the Mighty 90 in general would be helpful. And then the Biolumin Nightly Essence and the Z-Radical. Maybe throw in some extra bile salts or lecithin and apple cider vinegar after meals. And then your second question was, what was the second thing you said? I forgot already. Was it migraines?
Ocular, yeah. The
yes,
little flashing.
Okay, yeah. Ocular migraines are a short-acting migraine. Would she get them for like an hour or half an hour or something?
Half an hour, yeah.
Half an hour, yeah. Ocular migraine is a short-acting migraine headache. The name ocular comes from the fact that it can be associated with flashing lights or blindness even. Some people will get vision loss. And there's a football player named Terrell Davis, actually, who had ocular migraines. He got one in the Super Bowl. And there's a famous story where they used him as a decoy in the Super Bowl. They kind of gave him a little fake handoff, and he couldn't see anything. And it ended up just being a fake. They used him as a decoy and ended up winning the game. But it's kind of an interesting story because this poor football player never associated his migraine headaches with anything that was getting into his system. Migraine headaches, whether they're retinal migraine or ocular migraine or any other migraine, is a dramatic sign of a body in distress. Something is getting into the body that's causing a major stress. And again, almost always going to be food. There's a very important link between foods and migraine headaches. Just like with your other client, link the migraines to problem foods. Secondly, you want to get on nutrients that help support the nervous system. There's a relationship between the nervous system and the circulatory system, and once that relationship breaks down, once there's some kind of defect in that, either in neural processing, nerve processing, or in the circulatory system, somewhere in that area between the nerves and the blood, that's where you get this opening and closing of blood vessels, this inappropriate opening and closing of blood vessels that causes the migraine headache. So migraine headaches, number one, focus on stresses that are getting into the body. Number two, focus on nerve nutrients, especially water-soluble nutrients like the B complex, and then fat-soluble nutrients like essential fatty acids, the EFAs. Again, get your client on the Healthy Start Pack. Focus on the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. Have your client sip on the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. You may also want to use the digestive support, the Biolumin Nightly Essence, and the Z-Radical, and the Ultimate Enzymes, and all the things all the longevity products that are helpful for digestion. So for migraine headaches, you're going to look at, once again, problem foods, and then you're going to focus on digestive support, and then using electrical nutrients, especially the B complex, and electrolytes, potassium, magnesium, and calcium, and chloride. You get all those in vegetable juices too. In addition to the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, using vegetable juices can sometimes help, although some people will react to vegetables, so you got to be careful there too. Does that help you, ma'am?
Yes, it does. Does the Kel Toddy, is that gluten-free?
You know, I'm pretty sure it is, but I don't want to swear to that. Let me look into that for you. I don't know that for a fact. I'm pretty sure it is. I'll get that information for you, and I'll tell you about that tomorrow. Okay, Cal Toddy. I'll find out if Cal Toddy's gluten-free. Got to move. Kyleanne, thanks so much for your call and your kind words. We're going to take a break and come back with more phone calls. 855-660-4261 is our number. We'll be back right after this. All right, welcome back to The Bright Side. Let's go off to Virginia. Welcome, Dave. What's going on, Dave? Good morning.
Good morning, Ben. I'm going to have surgery for a umbilical hernia in a few weeks, and I was wondering what supplements you could recommend.
That's a great question. There are wonderful supplements to take. In fact, that's I don't want to say the best time, but it's one of the best times to make sure that you're supplementing before surgery and after surgery. The healing process begins as soon as the surgeon cuts into your flesh. That's when the healing process begins. So if you're loaded up with nutrients, you're going to heal much faster. You're going to get a much better prognosis from your surgery. And there's lots of good nutrients to take. Probably the first one I would think about is not really a nutrient, that's digestive enzymes. Taking digestive enzymes ahead of time can help reduce swelling and inflammation, and certainly taking digestive enzymes post-surgery can be very helpful for reducing swelling and inflammation, and all of that can have a negative effect on how well you heal and how fast you heal. So using digestive enzymes is very important. I'd be loading up on vitamin C. I'd be taking probably 5,000 milligrams a day minimum. Make sure you're sipping on the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, of course. That'll get you 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C and all your most of your basic nutrients. Vitamin K can be very helpful. You can use vitamin K two ways. Taking vitamin K internally before surgery can help prevent bruising or reduce bruising. Your doctor might not like that because vitamin K may affect how well may have an effect on the anti-clotting medicine, on the clotting medicine that they give you. The heparin and the anticoagulants, anti-clotting medicine, the heparin and the warfarin. Vitamin K is a pro-clotting vitamin. However, vitamin K is an anti-bruising vitamin, and it can reduce the effects of bruising. So personally, if it was me, I would be taking my vitamin K, 5,000 or so micrograms a day of vitamin K. Vitamin K2 is your best form of vitamin K. Again, that can speed up the healing process and reduce bruising associated with surgery. You can use vitamin K topically as well. If you get a vitamin K cream, a 5% topical vitamin K cream, you can either make your own, or you can, by crushing up some vitamin K and putting it in a cream, or you can have a compounding pharmacist make it for you. You can also, by putting it right on top of the area that they're going to cut, you can also improve bruising or reduce bruising, especially if you're having cosmetic surgery. If you're having plastic surgery, that might be really helpful for you. But for you, Dave, putting a little vitamin K cream may reduce the bruising topically as well as taking vitamin K internally. I'd be using topical vitamin A if I was interested in supporting healing, as well as making sure I got internal vitamin A, 20,000 international units a day internally. Using Retin A cream can improve the healing, the topical healing of the skin that is going to be cut. Let's see what else. Vitamin E may help, although vitamin E, again, your doctor might not like that because vitamin E has some blood thinning properties. But still, vitamin E can be very helpful for accelerating the healing process. 400 international units of vitamin E taken before as well as after. Make sure absolutely positively that you're getting enough protein. You can't heal without protein. After you have a surgical procedure, your body is burning through protein. So making sure you're using whey protein, especially the amino acid arginine, can be helpful for wound healing. Same with the amino acid glutamine, which we spent so much time talking about. Glutamine and arginine, whey protein, those can all be important. And making sure that you're absorbing those nutrients using the digestive enzymes and apple cider vinegar after you take your protein, that can also be helpful. And then last but most certainly not least, essential fatty acids are very important for helping rebuild the extracellular matrix. That's the stuff that the cells are sitting inside after you have surgery. The body breaks down a little bit in response to the inflammation and the assault that the surgery represents. Using essential fatty acid can help speed up the rebuilding process. Lots of stuff you could do. Thanks so much for your call, Dave. That's a great question, and I hope anybody out there who's thinking about surgery will really take nutritional supplementation seriously, and also digestive impairment, making sure you're fixing digestive impairment so you're absorbing your nutrients. That's also important. Is that helpful, Dave?
I think it is. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And also, I should tell you, bone soup can also be helpful. Using bone soup both before and after surgical procedures. Okay, Larry in Indiana, what's going on? Welcome to the bright side. Larry. Do we have Larry? Larry? Okay, I guess Larry dropped off. Gotta move along here. Let's go to Margery in California. Welcome to the bright side, Margery. Margery?
Dr. Fuchs, yes, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay, I've got a customer that just started the Healthy Digestive Pack in the last couple of weeks, and a bottle of selenium, and a bottle of liquid glucogel plus.
Okay.
She's about in her, I would say, mid-50s or late 50s.
What's going on?
She exercises regularly. Okay. She before she started taking these, she's told me that she has pain in her muscles and her joints in her hands, and that she also has she describes it as a muscle pain in her right leg only.
Okay. Now, it's very not uncommon.
Since she started taking the supplements, she's saying that it's gotten worse, and now she has needles going through her right
I
leg.
wouldn't link them to the supplements. She could very well be getting worse, but I wouldn't link them to the supplements. Muscle cramps, leg pain, pins and needles, all that kind of stuff, all represents a nerve issue. It all represents inflammation at the nerve cell level. All disease is cell disease. Once nerve cells become inflamed, once you get that microscopic inflammation and nerve cells don't get the nutrients that they need, they're going to start to fire incorrectly. They're going to start to fire inappropriately, and that's what a cramp is, and that's what pins and needles and all that kind of, technically it's called neuropathy. That's what that's about. Nerve cells that are surrounded with microscopic inflammation, nutrients can't make it through, oxygen can't make it through, and toxins start to build up. It's the same thing that we talk about all the time on this program. All disease is cell disease. What you're describing is nerve cell disease, and that means nerve cells are suffocated, starved, and toxic. Supplements aren't going to make that worse. However, if she's not absorbing her supplements, that can be a problem. Now, what I would be doing for this gal is I would be making sure that she doesn't have any absorption or digestion problems. So the Healthy Start Pack is great. And the other thing, you said a couple other things. I forgot what you mentioned there. What are the other? Glucogel caps. Yeah, you said the glucogel caps, the Healthy Start Pack, and you said one other thing. I don't remember. I don't remember which
selenium.
Selenium, that's right. All that's great. All that's great, Margery. That's wonderful. Those are wonderful supplements, but we got to focus on absorption. If she's not getting the advantage of those nutrients because she's got some impaired digestion, which chances are she does, she may also be pre-diabetic. This is a very common cause of nerve cell inflammation, diabetes, and sugar changes as sugar builds up. That can also be a problem. So I'd be focusing, number one, on continue what you're doing, but you also want to add in some digestive support. Probably the Biolumin Nightly Essence, digestive enzymes, apple cider vinegar, the whole digestive stuff, digestive support supplement program that we talk about on the Bright Side all the time. And then also throw in some sugar metabolizing nutrients too. Magnesium, the Osteomag, the Sweeties. Those are all very helpful for helping with sugar metabolism. Keeping her intake of sugar is also going to be important. Keeping her intake of sugar down is also going to be important, and that means limiting or restricting or ideally zero tolerance on processed sugar foods, fruit juices, cakes, pasta, rice, the kinds of foods, breads, cereals, those kinds of foods. Those can throw off the blood sugar system, and that can most certainly cause neuropathy. So, number one, add in some digestive support. Number two, add in some blood sugar support. Number three, have her stay away from foods that spike her blood sugar, the breads and pastas and processed refined carbohydrates. And then number three, she might want to see if she can link her muscle cramps, pins and needles, neuropathies, her pains to specific foods. See if she can notice when these kinds of symptoms flare up. Flare-ups are your best friends in a way because they're direct pointers to something that is getting into the body that is causing symptoms. So when her pins and needles sensation flares up, have her focus on what she did, especially what she ate, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours before. And then I should also tell you, in addition to the electrolytes, which she's going to get from the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, using vegetable soups and vegetable juices can also be a wonderful way to get electrolytes into the system. But make sure it's not V8 or canned vegetable juices or processed vegetable juices. Make sure it's fresh veggie juices made in a Vitamix. Have her pay attention, though, to if she has any problems. Sometimes vegetables have some toxicity associated with them that she may be reacting to. So have her pay attention to how she feels after she uses her vegetable juices. But they're really wonderful ways to get these electrolytes, potassium, magnesium, chloride, and all of the electrical minerals, in addition to the B vitamins, which also function electrically. It's an electrical problem based on nerve cell breakdown, and that's how you want to focus. Does that make sense, Margery?
Wow. Okay, you said Sweeties, Bio, what is it? Lumen?
Sweeties is, okay, I'll go over that. Sweeties is a blood sugar support supplement, and then Biolumin is the company that makes it, but the product is called Nightly Essence, and you can get it from Youngevity. Call your Youngevity rep, and they can help you out. Biolumin Nightly Essence. Love that probiotic for all digestive health issues. Thanks for your call, Margery. Got to move on. That's all the time we have on the Bright Side. Thanks so much for all your calls, all your letters, all your support, all your love. I appreciate all of you guys. And we'll be back at you tomorrow with more good health information. We'll talk about the waste disposal system inside a cell. If you want to purchase any of the Youngevity products, please head over to my website, brightsideben.com. Pull down on the shopping cart. And if you want to join the team, love to have you on the Brightside Ben team. Click on the Join the Team link for a one-time $10 fee. You can enjoy all the tax benefits associated with having your own business and help spread the word and earn yourself some thank you checks too. Thanks so much for listening, folks. I'm Pharmacist Ben. Have a wonderful, beautiful, awesome day. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye for now.